Hello, my name is Brianne Violet, and I'm with Legacy Health Insurance. Today, I'm going to cover Minnesota's new paid family medical leave requirements that are expected to go live January 1st, 2026. We will cover what paid family medical leave is, what employees are eligible for this coverage, plan designs, cost, private plan options, the advantage of using Legacy Health Insurance for coverage, and then we'll cover some common questions that other employers are asking. What is paid family medical leave, or PFML? Starting in 2026, Minnesota will be the 13th state to implement the Paid Family Medical Leave Act. There are a few things that this act does. Number one, it provides job protection for employees and allows them to take qualified leave and get paid a portion of their wages while on leave. Number two, it allows for a continuation of healthcare coverage during their leave. And number three, it requires that the employee be reinstated to the same or equivalent position and benefits when they return from leave. For instance, if you purchased everyone in the office new office chairs while the employee was on leave, when they return, there is a requirement that you also extend those same benefits to this employee. Now let's talk eligibility. There are 3 types of leave: medical, safe, and family leave. Medical leave applies to an employee's own health condition, such as injury, illness, or other impairment. It also extends to pregnancy or recovery from childbirth, as well as physical or mental conditions involving inpatient care, such as rehab or a mental health facility. Safe leave will apply to employees when they are needing to take time off work as a result of a domestic violence situation, or if they've been a victim of stalking, sexual harassment, or sexual abuse. This allows employees time off to do things like find alternative housing, file a restraining order, attend a court proceeding, or receive care for their well-being. Safe leave also applies when the employee needs to assist a family member with these items. Family leave can be utilized by an employee for bonding with a child after birth, adoption, or foster care placement. Coverage for bonding will also be available to employees with a child under the age of 1 who wish to take leave as of January 1st, 2026. Family leave is available to employees who are caregivers for a family member who has a serious health condition, such as a parent battling breast cancer or a child with a broken leg. For employees with a spouse or family member being called to active duty, or one with impending leave, employees may take family leave. For instance, if a spouse is being called to active duty, it may require your employee to take time off to manage household duties and childcare. If the employee has been at their current job at least 90 days, job protection will apply. FMLA should run concurrent with PFML. Any business that employs at least 1 employee working in Minnesota will be required to follow this law. However, state agencies and local government entities are not included. This law does not apply to self-employed individuals, independent contractors, or seasonal hospitality employees that work less than 150 days during any 52-week period. All employees who have earned at least 5.3% of Minnesota's average annual wage will be included. Currently, that would apply to employees making over $3,700 annually. If an employee is a Minnesota resident who performs more than 50% of their work in Minnesota, or a non-Minnesota resident who performs more than 50% of their work in Minnesota, they will also be covered by this new law. Plan design. Plans built for paid family medical leave have a very specific structure. Employees can take up to 12 weeks for their own medical leave. Employees may also take up to 12 weeks per benefit year for family care, bonding, military exigency, or safe leave. However, they may not exceed 20 weeks in total. The elimination period for each claim is 7 days, which is retroactive for a qualifying event. For example, an employee would not file a claim if they're out of work for a few days due to the flu. However, if they were to become septic and were hospitalized for 3 weeks, the benefit would be retroactive to day 1 of when they initially became ill. That being said, there is no waiting period for bonding. So in instances where an employee gives birth or a family member were to pass away and an employee took over custodial care of the children, they would be eligible to take leave from day 1 with no waiting period. Cost. With these new requirements, employers have two options to provide coverage. You can either opt to take out a private insurance plan, or you'll be automatically defaulted to the state program if you choose to do nothing. Minnesota's premium rate is 0.88% of taxable wages. Employers can choose to share cost up to 50% with their employees. This should be managed through your current payroll system. If you have an employee whose base salary and bonuses amount to $80,000 annually, the annual cost for their paid family medical leave would be about $704 per year, which, if you choose to cost share at 50%, would be a total cost to the business of $352 annually, or about $29 per month. Small employers, defined as those with 30 or fewer employees, may qualify for a reduced rate of 0.66% on the state program. Additionally, small employers can apply for a grant which would provide funds to pay for temporary employees to cover those fundamental business operations that still need to be fulfilled while you have an employee out on leave. Violations. Employers cannot retaliate against employees for requesting or taking paid family medical leave. Retaliation is defined as firing, disciplining, or interfering with their leave rights. If an employer violates PFML, penalties of up to $10,000 per violation, damages to the employee, equitable relief such as reinstatement to their position or a promotion, and legal fees may apply. Employees can file a civil lawsuit in state or federal court, and the Minnesota Department of Labor may also investigate and impose penalties. Private plans. An alternative to the state-offered plan is taking out a private plan. Funding options allow for fully insured or self-funding, must offer the same or better benefits and protections, and cover both family and medical leave. If an employer opts to pursue the private plan route, they will apply with the state for approval, which will allow them to opt out of the state's own plan. Self-funding requires a surety bond, meeting the state's requirements. Fully insured requires that the insurer issue a state-approved policy. Legacy offers a number of Minnesota state-approved carriers, which ensures coverage is as good as or better than what the state offers. Legacy options. Two of our preferred carriers are ShelterPoint and Principal. Plans are built according to state requirements and are underwritten based on the employer. Getting a quote is easy. You'll simply fill out a census form with employee information, send it to me at Bree@legacyhealthinsuranceMN.com, and then we'll shop your coverage with our carriers. Once it's determined which carrier is most competitive and an application has been completed, employers will simply fill out an opt-out form with the state and then pay an application fee, which ranges from $250 to $1,000, depending on the size of the employer. Employers are still required to submit a quarterly wage and tax report to the state while under a private plan. Principal, one of our preferred carriers, has been in the business for nearly 145 years and typically is the best fit for mid to large range businesses. In order to qualify, businesses must have 10 or more employees alongside one qualifying product, which will automatically be quoted alongside the PFML to make it easy as possible for you. As a side note, we expect in the next year or two that employers will see a drastic reduction in cost for short-term disability, as has been the case for many other states that have had PFML rollout. ShelterPoint is our other preferred carrier and has been providing state-required PFML since 2018. ShelterPoint is a great fit for our small to mid-sized businesses, as an additional product line is not required, and they expedite guaranteed issued rates for groups under 25 employees and meet certain criteria. Ranked number 1 in PFML cases sold and enforced, ShelterPoint has a proven record, stable rates, and great service. Filing a claim. Employees should be directed to provide as much notice as possible when requesting leave. 30 days advance notice or more for planned leaves is required, or as soon as is practical if leave was unexpected. Paid family medical leave will be primary coverage, and short-term disability will be secondary. Claims notifications will be sent to both employer and employee. One of the great benefits to having a private insurance plan is the guidance and expertise of a claims team. Claims are managed and extended absences are regularly checked in on to avoid abuse. For instance, if an employee is out due to a broken leg, your claims adjuster will contact the employee 6 to 8 weeks after injury to determine if leave needs to be extended or if the employee is able to return to work. Employers who opt to default to the state program may not experience the same white glove service. As this is a new program for Minnesota, we expect there will be delays in processing and servicing claims, which will make it harder to determine if PFML is being abused. Common questions. Is Minnesota paid leave mandatory? Yes. Minnesota paid leave is a required benefit that Minnesota employers with at least one employee have to provide. What happens if I do nothing? You'll be automatically defaulted to the state-run program, which may offer less personalized service, support, higher cost, and limited administrative flexibility. How do we get approved for a private plan? Apply through Deed with a copy of the private plan, carrier certification, and an application fee. Don't worry, we'll help walk you through all of it. What should I be doing now? Evaluate your current leave policies, compare the state plan versus private options, and plan ahead to apply for a private plan by fall 2025. What happens if multiple employees take leave at the same time? Employers must comply regardless of overlap. Staffing contingency plans are recommended. Can employers manage intermittent leave under PFMLA? Yes, both state and private plans allow intermittent leave, which can be difficult to manage without private carrier support. What is the private plan approval process and timeline? Employers must submit a detailed application to Deed, show compliance, and typically get approved within 30 to 60 days. We recommend applying no later than September 1st. When is the deadline to apply for a private plan to avoid defaulting into the state program? Fall of 2025. Exact deadlines to be confirmed by Deed. Applying early is advised. What records must employers keep for paid family medical leave compliance? You must keep payroll records, leave usage records, contributions, and premiums paid. Notice is provided to employees, and retention is required for at least 4 years. Is there a waiting period for employees to access paid family medical leave benefits? Yes. The first 7 calendar days of leave are unpaid, unless otherwise covered by employer policies. Can employers require employees to use PTO before using paid family medical leave? No. It is in addition to other earned leave. Employers cannot require PTO to be used first. What is the difference between Minnesota paid leave and short-term disability? Short-term disability is separate and distinct from Minnesota paid leave, which is a state-mandated benefit for employers to provide to their Minnesota employees, generally with up to 12 weeks of paid leave for a broader set of qualifying reasons, including bonding leave, caregiver leave, leave for a qualified military exigency, and safe leave, in addition to the employee's own serious health condition and safe leave. While short-term disability and Minnesota paid leave are similar in some respects, their specific coverage details may differ. Minnesota paid leave is not intended to fully replace short-term disability coverage, which an employer may still wish to provide separately. Who is considered a family member under Minnesota paid leave? The employee's spouse or domestic partner, child, including biological, adopted, foster, or stepchild, parent, including biological, adopted, custodian, foster, or step-parent or legal guardian, as well as the parent of the employee's spouse, sibling, grandchild, grandparent or spouse's grandparent, son-in-law, or daughter-in-law. Additionally, any individual who has a personal relationship with the employee that creates an expectation and reliance that that employee care for the individual without compensation. What's considered a serious health condition under Minnesota paid leave? To qualify as a serious health condition, the physical or mental illness, injury, impairment, condition, or substance use disorder that involves inpatient care in a hospital, hospice, or residential medical care facility, including any period of incapacity, continued treatment or supervision by a licensed healthcare provider. Is Minnesota paid leave mandatory? Yes, Minnesota paid leave is a required benefit that Minnesota employers with at least one employee have to provide. What communications must be given to employees? Employers must provide a paid family medical leave notice at hiring and annually, including details of the plan, state or private, contribution rates, and how to apply for leave. How will payroll contributions be collected? Employers must withhold from the employee's paychecks and submit their share along with the employee portion to the state or private carrier. When do we start collecting contributions? January 1st, 2026. Payroll systems should be updated in late 2025 to prepare. Can I include my paid family medical leave contributions on pay stubs? Yes, and it's strongly encouraged for transparency. Are union employees covered? Yes. Paid family medical leave applies regardless of union status unless specifically exempted by federal law. How are employees notified of approved employee leave? Private carriers will notify employers directly. The state plan will also issue formal communication. Can we deny paid family medical leave if it's inconvenient for the business? No. If an employee is eligible, employers must approve leave even during busy times. How should we prepare internally for paid family medical leave? You should update employee handbooks, train HR staff, prepare a cover strategy for absences, work with your insurance agent to compare plan options. How often can employees apply for leave? As often as needed within the 20-week annual limit. Frequent or intermittent use is allowed under both plan types. What happens if an employee abuses the system? Fraudulent claims can result in disciplinary action, denied benefits, and possible legal consequences. Insurance carriers and indeed investigate suspicious activity. What happens if an employee quits during leave? If they're approved for paid family medical leave, benefits continue for the duration of leave, but job protections no longer apply after separation. Don't forget, PFMLA isn't a maybe, it's a must. If you haven't secured a private plan before the state's deadline, your business will default into Minnesota's public plan. That could come with higher premium, bureaucratic delays, and the joys of navigating state customer service. PFMLA isn't coming, and ignoring it is not an option. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I'm Brianne Violet with Legacy Health Insurance in Waconia and Forest Lake. Legacy Health Insurance, home of your hometown healthcare heroes.